Stop giving your power away to somebody that you're hoping is going to maybe one day wake up and be a better dad, or one day wake up and realize, he needs to treat you better, or he needs to be better at co-parenting and cooperating. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
Ugly Truth of Divorce podcast with Sam and Leah, helping you not just survive, but thrive.
Good morning, you guys, and welcome back to the Ugly Truth of Divorce podcast with your hosts, Sam and Leah. And today we are going to be diving into a topic that is blowing up on my TikTok page. I don't know about you, but you asked me the other day what was down my For You page, and I am in TikTok.
Yeah, I think I am too. And I think because I'm liking the videos and sharing the videos, it just keeps sending me more and more.
Yeah. I was up late last night listening to a male post-divorce coach. And I will just say this, perspective is everything, and healing in your own journey is another thing. I felt like he was very negative he kept generalizing women. Mm-hmm. And I just don't like that. And I think you and I do a pretty good job of just generalizing narcs and high conflict people. Mm-hmm. Now, our specialty is helping women, as we have a group called The Next Chapter, which obviously is for women only, because that is our market. Our market is women, but we are not
moms. Yeah.
We're not blind to the idea that
there's some crazy bitches out there too. We know, but we usually talk to who our clients are. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I was reading the comment section on one of my videos, which I know is a boundary that I need to work on. And it's all like positive, like, yes, absolutely, Sam. And then it's like, you hate men. like you sound like a bitter, somebody called me the narc yesterday. Somebody called me the bitter baby mama. And I'm just like, and it was on a video where I was giving an example of one of our clients. And I'm like, this was a story from a female about a male. So I think 90% of our followers can understand that even if they're male, they can reverse it in their head and the knowledge still applies to them. But there are just some butthurt people out there that just can't do that. And they take time in their day to leave us comments. So thanks for the algorithm push. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for the boost. But we thought this would be a really good topic, talking about narcs, because it is our specialty. Mm-hmm. It is what we help our mom group on and anybody can join TNC, The Next Chapter, that is a mom. And we give a training every single Monday, and we give a group coaching call once a month. And what we've really changed is that it's a interactive support group for each other. So these women are commenting right now, as we're filming this, and they're helping each other. And it's a private group. Both Leah and I have support groups that are free, but those are really big. This is nice and small, and these women are really getting to know each other. And so it's really great. But today, let's dive in. We're going to talk about some narc stuff.
So, and I know that for most of you, your narcissist probably wasn't necessarily diagnosed by somebody.
Yeah.
Right. So, but you probably know. Like,
so this is really, like somebody that's showcasing personality traits of high conflict, that is showing behaviors of high conflict, because none of us have that PhD to where we can diagnose. But when you repeatedly are on narc TikTok and you're saying, hey, if your ex is doing this and your spouse is doing this, they might be a narcissist, or they might be high conflict. And I hate the word narcissist. I feel like it is like overly saturated and overly used. But I think just understanding that the personality that you're trying to deal with is not yours, and is not somebody that is ever going to be rational. Mm-hmm. Like, radical acceptance is something we talk about inside of TNC. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of resistance to most of the moms. Because it's a reflection upon me. Let's just be transparent. If my ex is high conflict and a narc and has personality, issues of high conflict, tendencies, it's a reflection upon me that I picked him. That's what I'm thinking at the beginning. I'm thinking, well, shit, I'm the one that married him, which I get told a lot in the comment section. Yeah. I'm the one that laid with him. I love how men say that in the comment section. Well, you laid with him.
Yeah.
Like, gross. But yes, I had children with him, and so I think it's a self-reflection that women tend to tolerate this behavior for longer because we're exposed to it and we picked this person. So I feel like that comes up a lot in our posts and in our TNC, is that the women are just like, but this is who I picked. And so it's very hard to deal with them because their personalities are just so extreme. But you have to have radical acceptance that, yeah, you may have picked them, you may have had kids with them, but it's a shit bag. And,
Mhm.
call a shit bag a shit bag. It's just somebody that you are never going to be able to work together with.
Right.
Some of us just can't.
Right. You gotta
We
throw
just can't.
that idea of, like, kumbaya co-parenting out the
Yeah,
window,
out the window.
unfortunately, even though you'd probably be willing to do that, but you have to be realistic with who you're dealing with. And don't beat yourself up for picking somebody like that. They're master manipulators, and that's what
Yeah,
we're gonna talk about. They got you. They sucked you in, and that's what they're the best at.
it's
So let's go
good.
through, like, some signs and characteristics. Let's just talk about this for a little bit. Number 1 is, an inflated sense of self-importance. Narcissists often believe that they are superior to others and they expect special treatment. So they may exaggerate their achievements or talents, thinking they deserve admiration or privileges that others don't. So with each characteristics, I'm going to dive into kind of the psychology of why. So why does this happen? Well, this kind of grandiosity is a defense mechanism
Mm.
to mask deep seated insecurities and fears of inadequacy. By convincing themselves and everybody else of their greatness, they try to protect their fragile
They have
self-esteem.
no self-esteem. They
None.
think they think
They're
none of
babies.
themselves.
They're
Yeah.
babies who did not get the love, uh, or attention that they needed,
Or
when
the
they were young.
opposite, or the
Or to
opposite. They were told that their shit didn't stink their whole
Right.
fucking life and that they were like the best thing
Like,
in
on a
that's
pedestal.
ever walked. And
Yeah,
so I mean, you said like exaggerate. They
yeah.
fucking lie
Oh,
about
yeah.
their achievements and who they are. Like it's just and they are the most important person. Like everything comes back to them. They're one of those people when you say, like today, Augie's sick. He had to stay home sick because he was puking. Oh, yeah. I was sick last week too. Like I could barely get over it, like it really tore me up. I had to miss work, which then people needed me. And you're just like, I was talking about my 6-year-old and you just made this about yourself. Like
Mhm.
how, whoa, that, but we have clients who I married them thinking that this is what they did for a living. Like huge lies, not like little subtle lies, like lied about their career, lied about being in the military, lied about family members, lied about what happened to them through life, like no full truths. They hide behind and I think what I've realized in reading books about high conflict personalities like this is they believe the lies. And that's why it's so hard for us that can see reality and see that like that's black and white. That's a lie in their mind, they're so adamant that it's true because they truly believe it.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
believe it. And it's hard to combat and work with someone that thinks the sky is black.
Yeah. They create their own reality. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just so hard to deal with because you're like, no, not at all,
Yeah, and it makes you
So
feel crazy. It makes you feel
yes.
absolutely crazy that they can spin things and you're just like, "What? Like, where did that even
Where
come from? What are you talking about?" It is
yeah.
really difficult to interact with somebody like that.
Mhm.
Um, all right, so number 2 is lack of empathy. They struggle to understand or care about the feelings and needs of others, including their own children.
Yeah.
So this can manifest into kind of like coldness, insensitivity, or just outright cruelty when others express emotions or vulnerabilities. Um, so why this happens is narcissists are often so consumed by their own needs and desires that they can't genuinely connect with other people's experiences. Their lack of empathy serves to keep their focus on themselves and maintain control in relationships. And as a parent, when you're co-parenting with someone like this, again, this can make you go crazy because
Yeah.
as a rational, reasonable person, what your kids need, right?
Yeah.
You want to put the needs of your children in their best interests first. And usually a narcissist in your high conflict co-parenting, they don't give a shit about what your kids need or what's best for them. Or it's always about the win. How do I win? How do I gain? How do I make this about me? How do I get what I
Yeah.
want?
Well,
That's extremely frustrating.
and I think what got us all at the beginning is their ability to manipulate themselves to make you feel like they are being empathetic at the very beginning. But what they're doing is swooping in and helping you with something and saying how they have the ability to fix this in your life. You need this fixed. And we hear it as, "Oh my gosh, they care so much to help us. Look at him helping me. Oh my god." Where in reality, he thinks you're a dumbass, that you don't know how to do this, or that you're an idiot for not knowing to do X, Y, and Z. And he will come in and swoop up, fix the fucking problem for you, manipulate the situation to where he is now needed. And you look at it as empathy, like he cared for me. No, he was trying to come in and control and change you. And you were at some phase in your life where you accepted that help. And now he's manipulated you into thinking that he is the only thing you can live with. Can't live
Mhm.
without him kind of. This was my story. Like, came in, I thought I could help him with his stepson or his son, my stepson. He could help me, at this phase of my life because he was older than me. And it was like, I fell hook, line, and sinker,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
right for it. And then how quickly it changed. 60 days. 60 days. I was like, well, 60 days I was married. Like day 61, I was like, uh-oh. Where'd the nice guy go? Where,
Yeah.
where, 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 where did the guy that cared? I thought there was zero. And then I slowly look back now at the education I have about everything. There was never any empathy. Never. When children would get hurt, suck it up. When, I would be hurt about something that would happen in our relationship, role reversal. And now he's more hurt than I am. And he needs attention. And he's not going to be able to live without me. And oh my God, I never got to show frustration, sadness, upsetness. It always had to be about him. And then he would make me feel stupid for being
Mhm.
upset. And now it was
Mhm.
back on him again.
Yeah.
And I fell for that. I don't even know how many times I was on that hamster wheel,
Yeah.
but the no
Yeah.
empathy for the children once I became a co-parent with this person makes me Fight Club mad. Like, how do you not see that your children need some acceptance, some comfort, some words of
Right.
encouragement, instead it
Right.
was always negative.
Medication, clean clothes, just
Yeah,
some things that we
socks.
have our moms, our clients going like, "What is fucking wrong with you? Like, how do you not see that? Like, they've been in the same clothes for 3 days. You keep sending them to school wearing that, or like, they haven't taken their
Yes.
medication. Like, they're not okay. Why are you bringing them back to me? And then I have to take them to the emergency room. I mean, it can get really, really intense. And
Yeah.
so it leaves you feeling like you're like it's like you don't even know how to navigate a situation like that because you're dealing with somebody who's just doesn't get it and isn't going to. They're never going to.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's what's frustrating.
Yeah. But not
Um
caring for the kids it's a hard pill to swallow. But here's the deal. I think the lack of empathy is where the kids realize that parent's different so much faster. And you can tell when your kids in a public setting, get injured in a game or something like that. Who do they look up in the stands for? That they want ibuprofen, or they know they need to go in an ambulance away from this basketball game or something. They're looking at the parent that they feel empathy from.
mhm.
And so in crisis, when your children are sick and they're saying, I want to stay with you, I don't want to go to that house. It's like, because I know I'm literally going to be given like a bowl and get threatened that if I get puke on the floor, I'm going to get my ass beat. So I don't want to go there. Like, I know I'm not going to be cared for when I go. I think your kids subconsciously and then consciously figure out this parent has something's different about them. They don't care for me. Like, the kid can sense there's not a sense of feeling of care and love. There's a sense of ownership. And those were direct words from my children. I
Mm,
felt owned. I didn't feel loved.
yeah.
Like I was a possession. I was
Right.
not something he cared for.
Right. And that's probably exactly the way that they look at it too. They look
Mhm.
at it as something of, that belongs to them. And
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
so number 3, another kind of tall tale sign is the need for admiration. Narcissists crave constant validation and praise. They will seek out situations or people who will feed their need for admiration, and they may become angry or withdrawn if they don't receive the attention that they think they deserve. Why do they do this? It stems from an unstable self-image. It goes back
Yeah.
to that kind of self-esteem. Narcissists require external validation to reinforce their worth, because they lack that internal confidence. And this is also a great reason of like, if you break up with somebody who's a narcissist, it is, I would say 99% of the time, they're going to hop right into another relationship very, very quickly. And that's why, right? They need that
Yeah.
source. They need something to feed off of. They
Mhm.
need their new prey so that they can get that admiration. They're going to go off to somebody who they can charm and who doesn't know about all their skeletons in the closet, and they can tell them their sob story, and they can talk to them about what a great dad it is, and how what a terrible mom, and how she stole the kids away, and I just miss, all of their stories.
Yep.
And it's so that they can get that validation and that praise and that admiration from somebody else. They need that. They feed off of that. They thrive off of that.
Yeah. It's constant. And I think, again, this is where your kids recognize that they are different when your kids start feeling like they have to fill that parent's bucket. When my kids would praise him right in front of me, and I'm like, this is weird, because at home you're like, blah, 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 different direction. But in front of them, it's always like, thanks so much. Like it was this over the top appreciation and over the top, complimenting him and thank you so much for coming. And it was like, that's our job as parents to come, like what? But now I get it. They
Mhm.
knew they had to validate him, because if not, he could possibly go home and be like, did you even notice that I went? Did you even care that I came? Like, you didn't even say anything. Well, it wasn't really about you. It was my softball game, but yeah, I noticed you were. So my kids were fast learners on how to make sure to keep him happy. And it's this whole parentification where they were literally taking care of him. They were making sure he was fulfilled. And that's a lot of responsibility for a lot of your children. That's where, child psychologists and play therapists and therapists just really can help your kids understand that's not their fucking job. That's not your
Mhm.
kid's job to validate a grown fucking adult,
Right.
And so that's a word of warning to a lot of you out there that are being insecure about, is this divorce okay? Are my kids okay? Are they struggling? Okay. I can't go seek validation from my kids for this decision. This is my decision. I can't be like, are you okay, kiddo? Because what if they say no? Like, this is not a pressure we need to be putting on our kids to validate our decision that we chose to leave, So be mindful of that one question to your kids. It's because it's a big ask, is this okay that I left? You're a fucking adult, mom. You should know the
Yeah.
answer to that. Don't be asking me that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's validation. When you see your kids doing that, and over the top praising that parent, understand this is probably why. Your kids know they have to do it. Otherwise, they're going to get their butt chewed for it. Or that parent will pout
Right.
and shut them out and not talk to them for a couple days.
Right. Punish them.
Yes. How? Yes.
Yeah.
Punish them.
Yeah. Number 4, like kind of the same thing, manipulative and controlling behavior, right? And this is kind of like the most common, right? Narcissists
Yeah.
often use manipulation, gaslighting, other tactics to control everyone around them. So they may twist the truth, they play the victim, they create drama to keep everybody else kind of off balance and maintain that power. Why do they do this? Control. Control is a key aspect of their strategy to maintain superiority and to protect themselves from perceived threats. So, by keeping others confused or dependent, they feel more secure in their dominance.
Yes. I will say, overall, just dealing with a narcissist for years, as soon as you can accept it, it becomes so much easier. Like when
Yeah,
you fully understand these traits, this is who this person is
right.
to their core. There's no changing it, there's no manipulating it. You have to face this head on for what it is. And
Yeah.
when your attorney doesn't understand and they think, oh, here's another person using the N word and saying that her ex is a narcissist and blah, blah, blah. No, really, dude. Like, this is the shit my kids are having to deal with. This is what's really going on. Like, I think you have to take these kind of specifics. So instead of walking into your attorney's office and saying, my ex is a narc, I'm diagnosing, this is what he shows no empathy towards my children or myself. He lies about his job and where his hours are and what he does. I just had a client yesterday who her ex lied in a deposition, black and white evidence being able to prove. But in his mind, she was like, Sam, he was believing every word out of his mouth. I said, because he does. He really does. In his mind, he thinks that shit is true. So I
Right.
mean, you got to take these examples and then show your evidence to your attorney that, hey, this is who I'm dealing with. Somebody that's going to pressure the children, not show empathy, lie out of their ass. Like,
Mhm.
do that kind of work on pleading your case of what you're dealing with. But you got to have radical acceptance that this
Yeah.
is who this person is to their core. They
Yeah.
will never change. And you got to teach your children that there's people out like this walking all over the place. It's not
Yeah.
just their other parent. These are bosses, these
Right.
are doctors, these are neighbors, teachers, coaches.
Mhm.
These type of people are everywhere.
Right.
So you have to teach your children how to protect themselves and to
Right.
recognize these
Like
type
the
of people.
toxicity and giving them the tool. And actually, yeah, tell them so August 27th. So next Tuesday, that's exactly what we're
Absolutely.
going to do. I don't know if you want to tell them about that.
Yeah, on the 27th, we do a workshop every month where if you like this resonated with you and you're sitting there going, "Fuck, this is who I'm dealing with. This is who my kids have. This is our story to a T." You need to come to this workshop. It's completely affordable. It's one night. We jump on and we give a very thorough training on here's step one, here's step two on how
Mhm.
to radical acceptance is part of that training. Okay. We have to accept who we have, but then there's steps after that on how to make your life better because
Mhm.
this is not going to change.
Right. So
Okay.
giving you the tools you need to co-parent or parallel parent really with someone like this with more confidence, how to feel more empowered, how to be less afraid and less stressed about it, how to empower your kids with the tools to deal with this kind of toxic shit. So we're
Right.
going to go all into it. So yeah, samandleah.com. Okay, so number 5, sense of entitlement. They believe they are entitled to special treatment and often impatient or dismissive when they don't get what they want. The entitlement extends to relationships where they expect others to cater to their needs without reciprocation, right? Me, 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 me. Why do they do this? Their sense of entitlement is a reflection of their deep seated belief that they are more deserving than others, a belief they cling to in order to shield themselves from feelings of inadequacy. So as you can see, there's a pattern here. All of these kind of signs and symptoms of
Mhm.
narcissism really go back to that core of they are so deeply insecure, and that is never going to change, and that
No.
might even be, it's so funny is like sometimes that's what kind of gets us in the beginning is we feel sorry for them. We hear
Yes.
their sob story, we hear, and we want to fix them. We want to help them. We think our love is all that they need in order to, get better. And that's the thing. When you're co-parenting with someone like this, it's not you. There's nothing that you can do to fix
Nothing.
this relationship. There's nothing that
Nothing.
you can do to change this person. No matter how much you bend, no matter how much you give, no matter how much you try to cooperate, no matter how much you say yes when you really think you should say no, it's not going to make them like you anymore. It's not
Nope.
going to make them be a better parent. It's not going to make your co-parenting dynamic any better because they're just going to flip the script. They're going to use it against you. You would be shocked at some of the stories that we hear of these moms doing these things. Even Sam has these stories. She'll do something that she thought was nice, that she thought she was just being cooperative, and then they will spin that shit so fast and say, "Oh, look, she doesn't even want her kids. She was supposed to have her kids on this day and she gave them to me and she doesn't even want to be with them." It's like, what the fuck? You asked me if you could. I was trying to be nice. I mean, it's insane. It will make you
Uh-huh.
go insane.
Yeah. I remember one of the very last times I went to court, we were there for a child support reduction because one of our children aged up to 18. Something so simple. And we were fairly like nothing really to talk about because our kids were grown. And we had just talked in the hallway. Now we didn't see each other a lot. We didn't hang out a lot at this point. It was just kind of casual. Like I think it was like in around something was going on in politics. So we started talking about that out in the hallway. Seemed fine. Walked in the door. And I don't know, it was like a switch went off on him because it was about money.
Mm.
And he said to the court, well, I want to change our days because I have more time with the kids than what this was calculated on. And the judge looked at me and she goes, is that true? And I said, no, we've been doing the same schedule for decades. Like, no. And he goes, she went on 3 vacations last year, and I had one of our children, not both. I had one of the children for 15 extra days last year. And the judge even giggled. And she was just like, sir, like, you didn't have to take the kids. She could have taken them with her, or she could have taken and given them to grandparents. Like, you got extra time with your kids. Just be grateful for that. Like,
Right.
you don't get credit for that. And he was pissed. I mean, it was like entitlement to, but I had them more days, so I deserve this. I had a client yesterday who was the breadwinner. The female was the breadwinner, and this man hasn't worked a day in his life, and he thinks he's entitled to 90% of their equities. I mean, 90%, like, first off, where'd you get that number? Secondly, like, why not 50? Like, but in his mind, and she keeps saying, yesterday, this is part where the lawyers come in. She's like, but the lawyers don't tell him no. They just keep coming to me saying, well, what will you give him? And she's like, 50%. And they're like, but he wants 90. And he's so adamant that, and this comes across to attorneys, like, but he's not going to back down. It's like some attorneys fold and go towards the narc because they're so adamant in believing their fucking story that they deserve something. They're entitled to something. And it's like, that's not fucking reality, dude. Like, math is math in divorce. Like, you get 50% and call her a fucking day. You get a fucking job. It's just like, I think when you're dealing, so when she was on the call with me yesterday, she says, how do I get it to stop? And I just told her, I said, look, with somebody like that, who narcs are all money driven, it's about the money. He's not going to stop till he gets more than what he's entitled to, because in his mind, he truly believes he's worth that. But here's at the end of the day, this goes for everybody that's dealing with a high conflict parent. When your high conflict parent is so consumed with hating you more than they love their children and loving money more than the hatred, you will always have the kids in the end of the story.
Right.
The kids will always either get burned, get let go of, get forced out, get hurt, get manipulated. Your kids will come to a final straw. I know there's some stories where the narc has the kids and has bribed the kid. It will all come to a head at some point. The kid may be 30 and goes to do something they've always done, borrow dad's mower, and dad loses his shit. And all of a sudden now it's over a fucking mower. Like, I've seen some of the biggest blow up incident, and you're like, you don't talk to your father anymore? No, it's been 20 years. Why? Because I borrowed a shovel without asking, and they just, in their mind, everything is theirs. They're the most important. Money is the priority. Themselves and I there's like a house of mirrors all the time.
Ego. It's just all ego. Every decision they
God.
make, every thought they think, everything comes from this place of ego to protect their fragility.
Yeah. And then, but when you know stuff like this, and then you look at their childhood and you go, there it is.
Right.
That's why.
Right.
That's fucking why. And then you look at your childhood and you're like, okay, pretty decent.
Yeah.
Especially in comparison to that shit show. Now I know why they're so fucked up.
Right.
Got it.
Right.
Got it. So this is the kind of stuff, guys, that we talk about inside TNC. These women all are dealing with this kind of shit. And so they all have the same kind of ex. And so we're helping them with boundaries, with tools, with education, because you got to be educated about it. I mean, it's one thing when like people say, quit smoking. You're like, I know I should quit. But when you watch a video, what your lungs look like and what it's doing to your brain and your cells, and you're like, ooh, you got to be more educated about it versus people just telling you.
Right. And how to do it. Here's some actionable steps. Here's some things that help, tools.
Yeah.
And so the last one is exploiting others. Narcissists often take advantage of others to achieve their own goals. They may charm or deceive to get what they want without regard for the impact on those they use. Exploitation is a means to an end for narcissists, allowing them to fulfill their desires while keeping others in a subservient role. So this behavior reinforces their sense of superiority and control.
Yeah. I was a casual drinker as soon as I turned 21. When I got married at 25, I drank. That's where he found me, was drinking. And when we went through divorce, he said, over exaggeratedly, she drinks every day. Now, we were only married for 4 years, and I was pregnant 2 of those years breastfeeding. So that only leaves like half the time I was married. And allegedly I drank every day. So he's saying, again, this is that exaggeration. She drank every day, but I was also pregnant for 2 of those years and breastfeeding where I didn't drink at all. And socially, I only think I drank 4 times with him, but he was the extreme. I don't drink at all. I'm perfect. I don't drink at all. And he had my kids believing that drinking was bad, driving them to restaurants to see there's mom's car. That's a bar. Well, it was also Buffalo Wild Wings and served food and had TVs in there, but I digress. It was this extreme behavior of proving that he was better than me instead of just do you, boo. If you don't want to drink, don't drink. If I want to show my kids that I can have a beer at dinner, I'm going to have a beer at dinner. I'm not labeling you and you're not labeling me. So it was just, but he was. So this whole like I'm perfect and having to talk down about another parent is the only way they think they can win. And this is coming straight from my 2 older children who are 20 and 18 who help me in my business. My kids have said, you didn't waste time talking about dad. He buried himself. He buried himself by talking nonstop about you all the time, comparing himself to you, bitching about what you did, what you were doing, what you were spending money on, how you looked, where you were going, who you were with. He only talked about you. He never told us shit about him other than, I make money, I do this, I have this. We didn't get to know him, but we knew everything about you from him. So I'm telling you right now, if your kids have someone like this, lay low. That parent's going to damage themselves. You don't have to say shit. And I know it's hard biting your fucking tongue. I know this, but bite it hard and just let it fall how it's supposed to fall. And your kids will screw that light bulb in really, really fast and go, why the fuck do we have to tolerate this? Because it isn't even about us. It's still about you. And they'll get to that point, but it's hard.
It's
super, super hard.
that patience piece is the hardest, is just letting it play out and trusting that once they get older, they will realize who the problem is. I mean, that happens, I would say 99% of the time. I mean, it happens more often than not, is that the older they get, the more they piece things together themselves, they draw their own conclusions and they realize who the problem is. So if you're trapped in this cycle of like lies, manipulation, control with your narc ex, first of all, you are not alone.
No.
Come to this workshop. We're going to dive into the intricate dynamics of co-parenting and parallel parenting with a narcissist. So we are going to equip you with the tools and the strategies that you need to break free from that bullshit, that toxic cycle, so that you can strengthen the relationship you have with your kids and then reclaim your power. Stop giving your power away to somebody that you're hoping is going to maybe one day wake up and be a better dad, or one day wake up and realize, he needs to treat you better, or he needs to be better at co-parenting and cooperating. I mean, it's just not going to happen. You have to really radical acceptance, like Sam keeps saying, is like accepting who you're dealing with and then being strategic about how to navigate that relationship. And that's going to also empower your kids. You're going to protect your kids from the manipulation. You're going to empower them with the tools that they need to navigate that kind of dynamic when they're dealing with a parent like that. So come get everything you need. It's the 27th. It's next Tuesday, samandleah.com at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Pacific. So come hang with us. It's on Zoom. And then after, there's actually an option for Q&A too. So if you want to hang with us afterwards, we can answer all of your questions.
Yeah. And the fact that you get the replay afterwards. So we know a lot of you are busy, or you have your kids, or you got to be sitting in a carpool, or, there's soccer practice or whatever. You get the replay. And I think anything, when we put out something, it's of such good quality that you need to listen to it 2 or 3 times, because you're going to pick up on something different each time.
Right.
Based on where you're at. You might be in one moment when you're listening to it. Then a week later, you're like, man, I didn't hear that the first time because I wasn't there yet. And now I am there. So really, when you can have access to that replay, that's critical. And then if you can want to get inside TNC, the next chapter, that's even better. But men and women can come to the workshop. Just TNC is designed for moms only. So
that's where they
free to do that.
Continued support. You get the support group. You get a new workshop every week on different topics. And but this workshop is always, anytime we do this, it's everybody just raves about it, and they're like, oh my God, there's so many things I didn't know. There's so much that I needed to hear. It's really, really good. So
and things like what Amber's asking here, how do you prove alienation, and how do you talk about false narratives? Those are all inside TNC. We've given trainings on those exact things that are up and live right now. And I think that's the perk of TNC is, again, it's like a library of resources. When you
Right.
need something, you're going through something, you got paperwork today and you're like, fuck, this isn't even close to accurate. I wonder if there's a training on this. Guaranteed there probably is. And if not, you
Mhm.
tell us and we make a training for it on the following Monday. Like it's
Yeah.
that simple. That's what's so great about TNC. So plenty of opportunities, guys. Like always, you can listen to another episode of the podcast, The Ugly Truth of Divorce with Sam and Leah, or you can get inside the workshop and decide, do I really click with these women? I think they're awesome. Absolutely. And then join TNC the next chapter. So until next time, guys, share this with somebody, share this with your sister, share this with a cousin, with a relative, with a coworker that you know is somebody that's not good for them. And maybe they'll hear something in this episode and go, oh shit, like I can't be the only one that's dealing with this. So, pass this on because your girlfriend needs it. Okay. They need it. Take care, everyone.